Welcome to another episode of Fantasy News. I am your host, Daniel Green, and yes, we're having two Fantasy News back to back, and honestly, maybe even a third time if you include the TAM casting that came out. And that's because in the time between I recorded that last one and this one, just a ton of news dropped, and a lot of people gave me crap for it because they were like, this Fantasy News you put out's outdated. Well, now it's not. Here's to hoping that nothing drops between 3:40 p.m. today and when you see this at 8 a.m. tomorrow, but let's go ahead and jump into the fantasy news. And in the biggest piece of fantasy news that dropped between when I recorded that one and honestly when you're seeing this now with this one, Critical Role, the Kickstarter campaign originated TV show based off their infamous Dungeons & Dragons campaign, has been picked up by Amazon. Of all places. 2 seasons of The Legend of Vox Machina are going to be happening now on Amazon Prime. This, of course, will have the entire Critical Role cast. I'm very excited to see this. It's just very interesting to see a small D&D campaign that didn't have ambitions near this level when it started explode to the point where now they will be on one of the largest streaming services in the streaming war. A new kind of different adaptation for the adaptation wars going on, a good boost for D&D, which I'm always down for, and what just seems like good people getting an opportunity to continue to thrive and grow in this very competitive field. So congratulations, Critical Role. Your success is inspiring. James McAvoy had an interview posted on the His Dark Material Twitter page. He speaks about taking on the role of Lord Asriel in depth. You can tell James McAvoy really dove in deep to the character here, which doesn't surprise me. This guy's one of my favorites for a reason. He clearly understands and cares about every portrayal he brings to the screen. If you have not already checked out the His Dark Materials TV show, I highly recommend you do so. I'll have a card popping up on my spoiler-free review of the first episode here, but it was stellar in my opinion, in summation of that review. And if that's the bar the streaming wars is going to start at, I'm very excited to see where the rest of these shows try to meet it. Although I did have some people correct me that no, His Dark Materials was not the start of the streaming wars for fantasy adaptations. That goes to Carnival Row, but a lot of people have been hounding me for my review of Carnival Row. Here it is. It wasn't great. I was hooked by the first couple episodes, but then it was just an unfortunate downhill spiral, largely due to poor acting and dialogue. The world was fascinating, and I really do believe the show can be redeemed if the entire storyline and acting has a major step up, but I didn't love the first season, and I wouldn't recommend it, unfortunately. There are new Witcher images dropped for the upcoming adaptation, linked, of course, down below if you'd like to check them out. I have them on screen now, obviously, so you can get a look without clicking there, but if you'd like to see them in higher resolution full screen, go right ahead. And in another quick last-minute update, the showrunner for Witcher posted these behind-the-scene photos on his Twitter, and I think they're rather neat, so I went ahead and threw them in here as well. I love the behind-the-scene photos. I think they're kind of awesome, so let me know what you guys think, and if you can speculate on which scenes they're depicting, if they're actually from the book. But switching into the bigger piece of Witcher news that a lot of people have sent me because it contradicts comments I have said in my reaction to the first Witcher trailer. When the Witcher trailer dropped, I essentially said this looks amazing, largely due to the fact that there are fantasy elements clearly on display. Now, directly after I said that, one of the visual effects supervisors came out and said that no, Witcher leans further away from fantasy and more towards horror. And a lot of people are saying, Daniel, you're wrong. This isn't going to be a heavy fantasy show. And what I have to say in response after reading this is I'm confused by his comments in general. He specifically says they're taking the fantasy out, but we see magic directly in the trailer. There's monsters, which is part of the fantasy.
Monsters.
And then he goes on and says that, oh, there's these monsters, and that makes it more horror than fantasy, even though they're fantasy monsters. So I think this is more just a case of people not quite understanding what the definition of fantasy is, and the continual problem where people do not lump fantasy in with horror and horror in with fantasy, even though they are closely intertwined a lot of the time. Paranormal fantasy is a thing, so is fairy tale fantasy, and honestly, Witcher is more fairy tale based than a lot of people realize, and that still equals fantasy. After reading this and thinking about it a bit more, I realized what he might have been trying to say was that the tone was more of typical horror than typical fantasy, which I don't entirely get because modern fantasy has huge divergence of tones, some leaning towards horror, some not. Like horror is a tone for sure, but fantasy really isn't, or I guess it hasn't been for a long time. Maybe he's referencing classic fantasy. All of this is possible, and I don't mean to discount, him as not knowing what he's talking about. He worked on the freaking show, but it's to me a strange statement to make, because fantasy isn't really a tone if that's what he was going for. But if it wasn't what he's going for, again, we directly see the magic in the trailer, so I'm not sure what was trying to be accomplished there. Let me know what you think about this down below, because I'm still a bit confused. I will say, just based off what I'm seeing in the trailer alone, I do think they're not completely removing magic or anything like that. And I'm still going to rally against this guy's comments a bit, though they have made me a little more skeptical and hesitant. I'm not backing down, but I'm just confused now. And of course, we have to talk about the Stormlight Archive update. Brandon Sanderson posted on Instagram, 75%. Hashtag Stormlight4 just hit 75%. Amazing to hear, of course, and the guy just burns through his books, as we all know. Brent Weeks even responded to this on Twitter in a rather funny post. Everyone acknowledges the fact that Brandon writes like a mad lad, just continually pumping out quality content for us to enjoy. It's just impressive. It seems like only like a few weeks ago we were saying he hit 50, I think. Like, how do you do 25% of a storm? I don't know. Moving on. It's amazing, and we're moving on. We all acknowledge it's amazing. Let's move on. And in similar Brandon Sanderson news, a spoiler-free early review of his upcoming YA novel Starsight was posted on Tor.com. And I'll link to it down below, of course. And while you're down there, if you wouldn't mind hitting like, it would help me immensely. But if you don't want to check out the review, the gist of it is very positive. They liked it, and I'm excited to read it myself. And I had a few headlines posted that were all rumors regarding casting the upcoming Batman movie. So take everything I'm about to say with a grain of salt. I want to make that absolutely clear. But it is rumored that Andy Serkis, Colin Farrell, and Matthew McConaughey are being eyed for the upcoming Robert Pattinson-led Batman movie. I don't know if that's true. If any of those is true, it would be a large land for them. I'd be most excited for Andy Serkis and Matthew McConaughey. I love both of their performances recently, especially Matthew McConaughey. If you haven't seen season 1 of True Detective, it's a masterpiece, and McConaughey's best performance in my opinion. Followed up closely by Interstellar and Dallas Buyers Club, of course. And in a real quick bit of quickie Marvel news, it seems Endgame will be on Disney+. They've also recently announced that everything that's going to be on Disney Plus is going to stay on Disney Plus. They aren't going to have that revolving content factor that a lot of other streaming services do have and suffer from and annoys fans endlessly. No, what's on Disney Plus stays on Disney Plus, and that makes sense because, Disney owns everything that they're putting on there, so kind of a duh headline, but at the same time, nice to hear. I also had a headline sent to me Marvel related I wanted to handle with a bit of care here because it is rumor and speculation, not entirely confirmed, but apparently the Winter Soldier and Falcon TV show could lead up to a Captain America 4 led by Anthony Mackie, currently the Falcon, taking over the mantle of Captain America. I know we already got that at the end of Endgame, spoiler warning if you haven't seen the movie that literally everyone has seen, where Anthony Mackie is given the shield. I don't hate this idea, but it'll be very interesting to see if Marvel can successfully hand off a mantle that is so owned by one actor to another actor and have fans be in the majority happy about it. Obviously, you won't please everybody. It's the internet. Someone's gonna hate it, of course. I don't think they're gonna do this with Iron Man. That's over and done, and I feel like they've put that to rest, and I appreciate that. But Captain America, I would like seeing carried on. I would like to see another character successfully take over that mantle, personally. I think that's a good move. I know a lot of people are gonna disagree on me on that, and that's fine. Let me know in the comments down below why you wouldn't wanna see that, but I think it could tactfully be done to see the Falcon take on the role, though my only confusion is he's not a super soldier, he's just a guy. So how's he gonna whip around that crazy heavy shield? I don't know. But I don't know. This is like the first bit of superhero news recently that's really piqued my interest, where I'm like, that'll be a first. Let's see if Marvel hands off canonically a character, not non-canonically like Edward Norton to Mark Ruffalo. But this has been your latest episode of Fantasy News. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. Check out some Fantasy News merch linked down below. And if you'd like to contribute to Fantasy News in the future, join the Discord server and post any stories you'd like to see covered in the Fantasy News channel, or send them me over on Twitter, though I am less likely to see those. Thank you guys. Have a good one, and peace!